Let's start with the basics. How does NetSuite calculate financial data? NetSuite calculates financial data from transactions that have been posted to the general ledger. Posted, for the most part, means approved. Now, for an individual entity, the amount recorded to the general ledger is the transaction amount multiplied by the exchange rate. We have an example on screen related to our Canadian entity that has a functional currency of Canadian dollar. Let's actually jump into NetSuite and take a closer look. On screen, we have a vendor bill for our Canadian entity. And again, remember, the functional currency of this entity is the Canadian dollar. The transaction we have on screen has a currency of US dollar. So we have an exchange rate of 1.2 applied. What that means is that NetSuite is going to take the US dollar transaction value of $10,000, multiply that by the exchange rate of 1.2 to arrive at an amount to post to the general ledger in Canadian dollars of 12,000 Canadian dollars. And we can validate that by double checking the general ledger impact, or GL impact for short. As we navigate here, you can see that the debit and credit for this transaction is 12,000 Canadian dollars. Let's actually take a look now at the income statement for our Canadian entity. You can see here that we are seeing an expense line for the 12,000 Canadian dollars that we just saw. Let's jump back to our presentation and look at how NetSuite calculates financial data for a consolidated entity. So when it comes to a consolidated entity, NetSuite still takes the transaction amount and multiplies it by the transaction exchange rate. But it goes one step further and multiplies that number by the consolidated exchange rate. So taking our example one step further, we have a transaction entered into the system that is the equivalent of 12,000 Canadian dollars. But now we need to convert that back to US dollars because our consolidated entity has a functional currency of US dollars. Let's jump back into NetSuite and take a closer look. So let's navigate back to our income statement, and this time let's run it for our consolidated entity. And recall, we are looking at the bank service charges line on our income statement. We go ahead and refresh. Perfect. And here you will see that our bank service charges at the consolidated level is 9,180 US dollars. The reason for that is NetSuite has multiplied that Canadian balance of $12,000 at the appropriate consolidated exchange rate to get back to 9,180 US dollars. Now notice that the original transaction itself, let's navigate there, was posted for 10,000 US dollars. And yet, when we run our consolidated financial statements, we are showing a balance of 9,180 US dollars for the same transaction. The reason for that is we are using a different transactional exchange rate of 1.2 compared to the consolidated exchange rate that the system uses. This is expected system behavior and often throws a lot of people off.